All right, you have just seen a scene of The Raven in which John Cusack plays Edgar Allan Poe in mysterious ways. But we'll find that out because John Cusack is right here.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello.
How are you, sir?
Hello.
Look, the ice
Great to
didn't
see
make-
you. We got
the
ice.
ice
Why
didn't
are you
make
bringing
any
ice?
noise.
Don't you know it completely screws up anything we do in sound?
It does?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think you can shake it. You're entitled.
Thank you,
You
sir.
know, you've done all this. Anyway, tell us. We should start with The Raven right away. Just to say, it's not just you playing Edgar Allan Poe. It's Edgar Allan Poe in a context we've never seen him before.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've seen much of Edgar Allan Poe. You know, there was the great Roger Corman movies in the 60s.
I watched them religiously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this puts him in a context which isn't a straight biopic, you know, which would have been like, all right, here was his life. You know, he was poor, he went to the editor, he was trying to get some money to write, but it allows him Poe to become sort of enmeshed or sort of ensnarled in one of his own creations. And so he becomes kind of a character in one of his own genre films. So he has to become a detective and work with the police to figure out how to crack the mind of a person who's copying Poe's work. So in a way he ends up trying to hunt himself down. So it also plays into that sort of meta Poe of the dream within the dream, and where does waking end and begin, and sanity and insanity end and begin. Yeah, either did he.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the film begins with him on that park bench between the time he got sick and his death, where we don't know what was going on. Do you really know, John? You just don't want to tell us?
What was going on? Well, I do have a theory of what was going on. I mean, some people think he was poisoned. Mm-hmm. There's some other kind of even more elaborate, wild conspiracy theories. But the one that I read from the biographies that was most plausible was they had these voting scams. And they would get a bunch of people down at the docks, and homeless folks and people who were drunks. And they would bring them down to vote, and then they would bring them to a warehouse, and they'd put other people's clothes on them, keep them liquored up, and bring them down to vote again. And they would do this for a while to kind of rig the elections. The fact that Poe ended up sort of totally incapacitated and wearing someone else's clothes that were a little small for him, muttering something about Reynolds, you know, find Reynolds. They think that he was a part of one of these voting scams down by the docks on one of his legendary benders.
Am I under arrest?
No, not as yet.
Then I'd rather stand. It makes it easier to leave.
Whatever it is I'm doing that you don't like, I'll stop doing it.
It's not me.
There comes a time where you do another movie of yours that I'm very fond of called Grosse Point Blank.
Yeah, I remember. You were the first person to give us street cred.
That was it.
You're the
Really?
first
You had
real
no
reviewer.
street cred
Yeah,
before that. Yeah, they all went, what is this? You know, no.
I said, Peter likes us. We got street cred.
Yay! But it's also this thing with the themes of the movies and then acting as a craft and then acting as play. Grosse Point Blank always had that to me, that everybody was having a good time. Your sister's in it.
Yeah.
And she's terrific in it.
Yeah.
You're coming from this whole world where you, Jeremy Piven, other of your buddies are working out of Chicago in theater, doing this.
Yeah.
And it's fun, right?
Absolutely,
The
yeah.
innocent Irish altar boy that I'm looking at here is also in there. Mm-hmm. That eventually becomes this haunted, tormented, tortured Edgar Allan Poe.
Sure.
It's all of these things. But is it still play for you as well as something when you're choosing a film to do?
Yeah, I think it's fun. It doesn't always have to be a kind of a fun where it's easy fun. It can be scary fun. Mm-hmm. But I think you can get your adrenaline going, or you feel like you're grappling with some ideas or some themes that are like, oh, how are we going to walk that line? How are we going to walk that edge? And it gets exciting to try to pull it off.
Even when you're doing stuff like Better Off Dead, these movies, 20 years, 25 years later, they have a kind of audience, whether you call it a cult or you call it anything else. People will
even
still
that
go
one,
back.
like, I never felt that one as quite as much as some of the other ones, but even that one was black comedy. Mm-hmm. That was a black surrealist comedy in the teen genre. So even as I read it as a kid, I was like, oh, this is trying to do something different. I think that's probably why it's, you know, people still remember it a little bit.
I mean, I remember still The Grifters. I mean, it's rare to play a part where you're seduced and abandoned by your own mother, you know, and played by Angelica
I think
Houston.
if you end up making out with your own mother before she cuts your throat, that's kind of the bottom of the barrel.
That's
as
it. I
far
mean,
as-
but where
yeah.
do you go?
Where do you go from
Yeah,
there?
High Fidelity too, you know, which I would like more if they didn't have that line in it about of the 5 best jobs. The number 1 would be writing for Rolling Stone, but only between 1976 and 1979. That broke my heart.
Did I say that?
You said that, John.
Hi, Laura.
Top 5 dream jobs.
Hey, that's private.
Number 1, journalist for Rolling Stone magazine, 1976 to 1979.
I should go out then on what is making you happy now. John Cusack, person, Chicago boy.
Yeah, well, look, I don't.
It's baseball
by the way,
season.
baseball seasons makes me happy. Working with other actors makes me happy, and there's plenty of good things in the world. You know, the world's a horrible but beautiful place, so there's as much beauty as there is horror.
I end every show where I ask the guest to music something, some snippet of a song, something that means something to you musically. Because that's where I'm from.
You need me to sing?
You're a fearless actor.
No. But
Yes.
I'm not
I've
in
heard you
character.
sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" once.
But I'm trying to follow up Harry Carey, and Harry Carey couldn't sing.
Well, nobody on this show can sing, usually. Nobody can. They're just expressing themselves in a short snippet.
Happy birthday to you. That's all I can do.
I have to wait for June, though.
When in June?
June 27th.
I'm June 28th.
We'll meet, we'll have a party, a few beers. Thank you, John.
Thank you, sir.